Hello, everyone. My name is Jayden Beatty, and I'm the Chief Development and Communications Officer for Age of Central Texas. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to the January installment of our Aging Answers video series. We wanted to start out the year with a conversation about age and what's happening at our organization and what's going to come up for us this year as we work to serve the growing number of older adults and family caregivers in our community. And the best way to do that is to hear from our Chief Executive Officer. So I am really excited to introduce Suzanne Anderson, who is our CEO. And I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and tell us her story.
Hi, all. Yes, Suzanne Anderson. So glad that you're on with us today. I am a Dallas girl and a Texan, grew up here, finally made my way to Austin through another nonprofit and have had the privilege of being a part of Age of Central Texas for the last 5 years. And it's truly been a part of my heart. My journey to get here was really interesting in terms of I was a caregiver for my father for 12 years. He came to Austin from Dallas after he retired, and we knew that our journey was going to be connected together. He started out in very good health, and so he made that decision based on the fact his health was good. And then slowly but surely, he started to have vascular-related issues. And so the last couple of years were a bit of a struggle with my caregiving journey with him becoming more and more intense. And I actually used Age of Services at one point through the process, leaning into the Information and Resource Center to find out how I could best support him. Our time together was truly a blessing, which really was.
That's amazing. What would you say, if you don't mind me throwing this at you, Suzanne, what would you say was the biggest, if you could pick, the biggest challenge and also the biggest opportunity or moment of joy that you had with your father?
Oh, great question. I think the opportunity for him was truly, he wanted to age in place. And that is 90% of older adults, that is their desire to stay in their home. And so finding resources to support him through that journey and being able to stay in a job as well so that I wasn't there every single moment was part of my kind of ongoing conversation with him on how to best make sure he's safe in his home and also not completely isolated during that process. I think the joy that came out of it was the conversation because as his world shrank, my time with him was filled with stories about his childhood that I didn't, know about, because his day to day was pretty rough. So we did a lot of reminiscing and going down that path of, did you know that I did? And I think I got to know him so much more deeply during that time, just over an egg salad sandwich that we might have. So that was what my takeaways from that, and I get to hold those stories so close to me at this point.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really amazing to have a leader with such a personal story and connection to our mission. I know we say a lot at Age that aging is universal. Everyone experiences it, and we know that everyone will be a caregiver in some capacity in their lifetime. And so it's important that we have a leader with that vision and that experience to add to the vision. And so I'm excited to hear from you today about all the things we talk about so much as a staff about what we want to accomplish and what we want to do for our community. So we'll start with our first big question, which is just what are our top priorities for 2024?
Oh, we've got a few really big ones. I think the first one truly is opening our South location and expanding services. This is an unprecedented time for AIDS in terms of that opportunity to really dig into our South Central Texas, communities, which we have been serving, but will be more deeply serving with this building. And so from that standpoint, being able to stabilize after we open and utilize that facility to its full extent is important. Some of our trickle down with the building there are also priorities, and one would be to re-engage face-to-face services with our computer lab. Our technology services were virtual during COVID, and we've been struggling to get those back up and running, but we know there's a huge need. So we've got big plans to do face-to-face trainings both in our Central Austin location and in South. So I think between those two, those are exceptionally important. And then additionally, as we start to think about how we can serve people in more distant communities, more rural communities, how do we package our programs and be able to replicate them in communities that currently have no older adult or caregiver services available to them? Because we are so important to those that are connected to us, and we know that that's an opportunity for us to reach deeper into our rural communities.
Yeah. I know a question I get a lot that maybe we could clarify just really quickly is a lot of people are asking if we're just moving to South Austin or if it's an expansion. So can you share about what all programs will be present at that South building?
I think the exciting thing for all of us is that in that particular building, for the first time, all of our programs can be operational at the same time. And so that's really huge for us. It truly is an expansion. Our central Austin location on Cedar Street is our headquarter location in our administrative facility. So this is really designed around being able to have our programs operating out of that building and servicing the communities in South Central Texas. Largest adult day health center that we have will also be operational. It will be state of the art. And so that is actually a grand experiment in a way in terms of the size of that particular facility. But we anticipate it's going to be full fairly fast.
That's great. I know we just recently set this goal of a growth of 33% in its first year after opening in terms of number of people served. So it's going to be really exciting to see. For those who don't know, we currently serve about 3,000 people, and we're hoping that will go up by 33% in 2024. And ultimately, once we have all of our facilities, which we have a goal of 3 to serve as kind of this corridor of care along I-35, to be serving closer to 6,000 older adults and family caregivers, which is so needed with how many people moving into our community and who need us, but is going to be a task and one we're really excited to officially start with the South Austin facility.
Oh, for sure. You know, one of my personal goals is to never hear, I wish I knew about age when. We want people in every phase of their caregiving journey or aging journey to know that we're here for them. And so that's part of my personal mantra is I never want to hear that.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think, one of the things I've loved about being a part of the South Austin project is just really getting to be a part of building something that's so customized for this population in particular, and thinking about how we can use our physical, like the bricks of our building, to be person-centered and to be all about those who are getting care. So I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about all of the fun work you've gotten to do working with the design team, and how we're making this facility for the older adults that we care for.
Well, and that was an amazing journey in terms of just visualizing what this building would do. And you start there. You start, what do we want to actually be able to do out of the building? And then we engage our staff at ACE, especially the experts around our programs, and what their needs would be if they could dream and we could do this. How would you think that would look? And particularly around our adult day health and our Thrive Social and Wellness. If you could create that from scratch, what would you like to see in the center? So that was so important in terms of taking those plans as the architect, develop the first floor and develop the second floor, and having our program staff and any staff really that was interested in seeing what we were visualizing have feedback in terms of what that might look like. Ease of flow, people movement around the building. How would someone feel when they looked out those beautiful windows at the Thrive Center into the garden? How do we, really want to make sure that we're taking the best care of our caregivers in this space? So I feel like when you walk in, it feels like home. You have natural light throughout the building. It will be full of color and activity and energy, but also a space for people to come in and have support and downtime and learning, which has sometimes a different feel to it in terms of what you really want to experience. So hopefully, it's really hard to build something and design something that's there for every person that walks in, but I really feel like we hit the mark in terms of what the building's was designed to deliver.
Yeah, I do too. Well, I know we're at a really exciting stage of that building. Of course, as everyone has heard, we're opening this year, but do you want to share a little bit about where we're at in the timeline right now, and what we're hoping the next quarter will look like?
Oh yeah, the building itself is done, and we're actually in the process of doing what's called a punch list. So just little nicks, repainting, little things that just make it, absolutely perfect on the inside. We're waiting for our utilities to complete their process, which means water, electricity, internet at this point. And they're all somewhat interconnected in terms of, you have to have electricity to have internet, and internet to get certificates from the fire marshal and things along those lines. So we anticipate in the next 4 to 6 weeks that those utilities will be complete. Means landscaping will go in, and we will begin the process of actually opening the building to usage along the lines of training. We also have some spaces upstairs for some tenant spaces for nonprofits that they'll be able to move in and start utilizing the building for their services as well.
It's such an exciting time, and to our audience, I'll say we're gonna, as soon as we know and as soon as those utilities go in, we're gonna be scheduling an open date, but perhaps even more excitingly, scheduling a party. At least I'm excited for that. A party that everyone will be invited to attend to come and see this beautiful space, and celebrate this big milestone with us. So if you're not following us on social media, and if you're not signed up for our newsletters, I encourage you to do so, because that will be how you'll know and be the first to know when this big party is planned and when we'll be opening. So you can follow us at Age of Central TX. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then if you go to our website, www.ageofcentraltx.org, you can sign up for our newsletter. And we really encourage you to stay connected with us that way. We'll start turning a little bit away from the age building, because while that's a huge accomplishment for us in South Austin, there are lots of other things that we're doing as an organization. And so we'll move to our next question, which is, going back to how we're being person-centered and how we're trying to be nimble to our community and really understanding what the older adults and caregivers here in Central Texas are facing. So Suzanne, from your perspective, can you share a little bit about what the top challenges you're seeing and you're hearing from our program staff that we're seeing of our constituents?
Oh, absolutely. We all know we live in a time that's really difficult from an affordability standpoint, especially if you're low income. So I would say cost of living and affordability within our Central Texas community is really, really a struggle day in and day out, especially for our low income older adults. The other things I think that are a little bit of a struggle is it's a lack of direct services within a community. Sometimes transportation can be a real struggle to get to just say basic healthcare needs within your basic neighborhood, your basic community. So a lack of direct service providers within a kind of an area that an older adult would be able to access. And I would say the third thing would be really apathy, a societal apathy around older adults and caregiver issues. We as a society really are focused on staying young and staying viable. And I believe that the struggle that older adults go through, and as well as their care partners, is something that we need to pay more attention to. Because if we're lucky, we will be older and we will be in those positions. So at this point, I think it's a really, really ripe for us to focus attention on making sure those gaps are addressed during this time frame, not waiting on that. So again, it's societal apathy, I think, is a big issue.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, I know it's something that we've talked about since we started this campaign 5 years ago to expand age, which is we set this goal to change the way we think and talk about aging in Central Texas. And we've talked a lot about how, an unintended consequence of living in such a vibrant city with the music scene that we have and the universities that we have is there is this large misconception that we're a young city, when in reality, Austin and Central Texas is home to the second fastest growing older adult population in the country. And so knowing that and knowing all that AGE is working on, I wonder if you could speak to how we're trying to be a thought leader in this space as well, and kind of the partnerships that you've been kind of leading and paving the way for us to work with other nonprofits and community leaders to really address this apathy issue.
Well, it's sort of been a two-tiered approach. One is our local governments, both county and city, making sure that they know that AGE exists. So we've done tours of both the Central Austin facility and the South Austin facility, and making sure our city council understands what we do on a day in and day out basis. Networking with our Travis County and Williamson County commissioners, making sure that they understand where we are. So it's, again, it's an educational thing. You know, if you don't know who we are, you can't refer to us, which I think, you know, across the board, when they get the calls from older adults and their caregivers around, I need this, where can I find it? And so now they have a referral. The other piece of it is that networking that we do and referring to other agencies within the aging space. We are very, very focused on not having what's called mission creep. So we're not stepping on each other's toes. We really want to make sure that if I'm serving a client that needs meals, then Meals on Wheels is aware that that is an opportunity for them to step into that space as well. We have a really wonderful, robust aging services council, which is a group of and consortium of agencies within the aging space that talk about issues around aging and caregiver services, and having that ability to connect the folks we serve with others is so important.
Yeah, yeah. I think what's good about the approach that you've had is it also speaks to kind of the role and responsibility that different people have when it comes to caring for our aging population. For our community leaders, it's about making sure resources are available and that people have the ability to age the way they choose. So it's not, you know, aging is not only for the rich, it's supposed to be for everyone. And so how can we make that happen? For nonprofits, it's collaborating to make sure that we're working together to you know, solve the issues that we're facing. And for people, it's about educating yourself and educating your families about what's to come and how to be prepared and have the tough conversations. I think, you know, one of the things we'll be doing in 2024 that maybe you could add to, Suzanne, is just continuing some of those communication efforts through our conferences, which I think those may be a misconception are only for people who are older. And that's not true. These conferences are for people who might be caregivers, who are caregiving, to learn, how do I have this conversation with my father or my mom about what they want when they age, and how do I start making decisions for myself? So do you want to, can you speak a little bit to those education efforts that people can look forward to over the next year from AGE?
Absolutely. You know, we sort of tackle that educational component in a couple of different ways. We have everything from a caregiver training camp that's basically a 101 on how to do caregiving. It's a half-day conference, to all-day conferences where we have guest speakers come in and we have experts in the field talk about everything from what to expect around dementia and how to manage Medicaid or Medicare. We also do seminars, which are specifically targeted to specific topics that may be a couple of hours. And so you can keep an eye on out for those as well, because they're very, very good. We welcome all ages to participate, because as we're understanding, more and more young folks are starting to become caregivers early. It could be a grandparent. It could be that they are part of what we call a sandwich generation, where there might be a young family who are raising children, but also now mom has to move in with them because there are struggles from a financial standpoint in their care. And so we are very open to anyone that needs our services and an understanding of either what's to come or what they're currently experiencing to participate. Because I absolutely believe getting older is a proposition that we all can experience. However, how you experience can be very different depending on your income and your situation.
Suzanne, can you speak a little bit? I think one kind of group that often forgets that they should be aware of the challenges caregivers are facing are employers, knowing that so many of their employees are caring for an older relative. So can you share a little bit about why employers should care about this issue?
It's really interesting. I think first, just talking about caregiving is not something that adults do. And it's really interesting because when you're raising children, you're caregiving. But you're inclined, you'll open that phone and you'll show pictures of your children. But when you start caregiving for your mom or dad, or even maybe your husband or wife, you are very silent about that. It is really something that we've got to encourage people to talk about and share their journey. Um, when these individuals are still trying to work most of the time, and here's the impact on employers. It can be up to 40% of your working population, your employee population, is in some sort of caregiving journey. The ones that are caregiving for older adults don't talk about it. Those people are the ones that are most likely not to take an advance or promotion. They may have to cut their hours in order to take, phone calls or take their parent to doctor's appointments. And the bottom line impact from an employer standpoint is on your bottom line. Becoming educated on what these caregivers are experiencing and how you can become more sensitive to what they are currently experiencing can go a long way, not only to build morale and keep those very valuable employees in your company, but also it sends a message out that we are an employee first organization, employee first company that tends to really resonate with folks that are potentially in that particular situation as well.
Yeah. And that group is one I know we've talked a lot about when we think about reaching rural communities, when we think about reaching people who don't know about us yet and kind of addressing that mantra that we want to make sure, no one says they wish they'd known about age when. Employers can be such a key to that. So I just want to take a moment to give a call to action to our corporate partners listening, or to individuals who work for companies. Tell your HR departments, we want to talk to you. We want you to utilize age as a resource for your workers and your team members. And we'd love to talk to you about ways that we can help educate you on how you can support your caregivers and how you can connect them to the conferences that we have, to the free resources that we have available. We are here and ready to help. So quick call to action for those in the audience. And if you're not in HR, just feel free to share this video series with your HR department so they can learn about age. And maybe we can set up a time to chat and have a tour with anyone who's interested in learning more. Okay, so I'm gonna dive back into South Austin for just a minute. South Austin is so rich for it's got so many corporate groups, so many individuals who currently have no access to the care that they need. When we started this campaign, we had city demographers identify South Austin as this senior services desert. And so I'm curious if you could speak a little bit more as to what impact you see this facility having specifically in the South Austin community. How is this going to change that community?
Yeah, that service desert was a really important and key element in making decision about where we put it, the facility. In addition, we want it to be very accessible because there are folks that are driving in from as far away as San Marcos to work in Austin, and being able to get on and off of I-35 and drop mom or dad off, or whoever your partner might be, was really, really important to us. What I see this building being is really a beacon, not only for age services, but for other activities that can promote socialization, prevent social isolation, make connections with long-lasting friendships, or just connections in the moment for what you need in terms of information and purpose around your caregiving journey. It is one of those that, when you start to look at the tentacles that can come out going south, you're looking at, Buda and Kyle, Bastrop, Wimberley. Those areas have not been able to, or do not currently have, any type of older adult or caregiving services that are really in a bricks and mortar location. So from my standpoint, again, if you just think about that light, that warmth, that family that can be created within that building, it's not just about age. We're going to invite other organizations outside of age to come in and do programming inside that building so that we can, again, whether it's age or another organization, we connect you to what you need in order to feel supported through that caregiving and that aging journey.
Yeah. Our lead investor in this project and in our organization is the St. David's Foundation. And, they have this goal of creating healthy communities. I think often, when I'm talking to donors and stakeholders and individuals in the community, people forget that aging is health, and there's a way to age healthily and there's a way to age without health. And so can you speak a little bit more as to why age and the services we offer should really be considered a basic need for the health of older adults? How do we benefit the health of that community?
Well, social isolation has the health equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So if you are lonely, your health suffers through that loneliness. And isolation isn't just about getting older. I mean, a caregiver can get exceptionally isolated through that journey because their focus becomes singularly on that individual that they're working with. And again, if you don't talk about it, if you don't ask for help, if your neighbor comes to you and says, "What can I do for you? I know you're taking care of Dad," and you say, "Well, nothing. I'm good." That doesn't help the situation. The response could be, "How about you come in for an hour and let me, go do some grocery shopping or run up to the coffee shop and get a cup of coffee and just have some downtime."
Yeah.
This building in South Austin is going to create that community that's so important from a health equity standpoint to connect people together that can be supportive. Not only from the standpoint of social isolation, but we also do caregiver support groups that, again, are connecting other caregivers in a space where it's safe to talk about their journey. And it's okay to say, "I am really mad right now," or "I don't enjoy what I'm doing right now," because that's just part of the cycle of caregiving. If I said I loved every minute of taking care of my dad, I would not be telling the truth.
Yeah. I know we talk a lot as a staff about how what we hope to be is a place where no shame exists around honesty when it comes to caregiving. We can be honest and say it's not fun and it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
It is not.
Well, cool. I think we've talked a lot about South Austin because of the building, but one of the key things I want to make sure we talk about is our efforts to be accessible. We do have a free transportation program. We do still have these other facilities. So can you talk a little bit about the transportation we offer, but also where our other two locations are and what programs will be offered out of those?
Absolutely. We do have a bus fleet that we do pick up folks that are attending our Adult Day Health Center, which is for some the only way that they'll get here. So we're real excited to have that. They'll be expanding to South Austin. We do in Williamson County have an Adult Day Health Center that has a license for 37, which is we're full at that location with a little bit of capacity, which only tells you what the need is. In our central location, we'll continue to do our programmatic offerings out of this particular facility. We're going to temporarily close the Adult Day Health Center here in order to make sure that we're opening and connecting south. So again, that's real exciting for us. We have another opportunity because serving our rural communities, again, that go back to the beginning of this video conference or webinar, is that we have an opportunity to start serving more folks in rural capacity. So one of the things that we'll be concentrating on this year is how can we package our programs in a way that we can replicate them in a different community. Adult Day Health is hard to replicate, but other pieces of what we do can be put together in a way that makes them sustainable and makes them, replicatable within a community so that you can be doing something in Williamson County in Taylor. You can be doing something in Fayette County that looks the same as what's happening in Taylor. And we can move that around in communities to reach more people, again, that haven't had the opportunity to have services from an organization like me.
Yeah. That's really exciting, and it's hard work, it's good work, it's needed work, and it's work we certainly couldn't be doing alone. It's work that we're only able to do because of investors like the St. David's Foundation, HEB, other important partners, and most importantly, individuals who are investing in the older adults and caregivers in our community. So can you share a little bit now that we've talked about all these big things we're doing in 2024 that again we couldn't do alone? How can our community help us help them? How can they be a part of this effort and make a big impact?
I think one of the largest things, going back to, no one should go through this journey without knowing about it, is to educate yourself or reach out and we will help you educate, give you materials and information that you can provide to others, so that, because you'll be networking with people that will be talking about their caregiving journey. And the best thing that you can do for them is to say, do you know about it? Because they help you during this. That, from my standpoint, is one of the largest and most important things that you can do. You can also, donate to it. Come by and see our facilities. Learn from that standpoint where you can connect, even as a volunteer, if that's something that you're interested in doing, because we have all kinds of needs associated with volunteers. And we couldn't do it without our amazing donors and our corporate partners and our foundations that support us, because folks that come to us, most of our programs are free to them. And we only continue to be able to offer them for free because of the incredible generosity of our community.
Yeah, yeah. If anyone were to take anything from this video today, I hope they take that there's a role that we can all play to make aging and caregiving a journey marked with compassion and love and connection. And so I'll just kind of wrap up what you just said. It's be an advocate for yourself, be an advocate for your family, your neighbors, your loved ones. Be a part of the solution by investing and putting what treasure and talent you may have, talent through your volunteerism, time through your volunteerism, or your treasure, should you have any that you'd be willing to give. Any amount of money does help a nonprofit like AGE. As the Chief Development Officer, I can assure you it's very appreciated. It makes a big difference. But it's that advocacy piece that I think is so crucial to what we're doing, particularly in South Austin, because we want everyone to know about it and to shout it from the rooftops. So I think maybe we could end, Suzanne, and kind of bring it back to how we started, which was learning about your story. You were an advocate for yourself and for your father, and you're now this huge advocate for our community by leading this organization. What's the best tips you can give to people on how to be a good advocate? How can people be the advocate we need them to be for the aging community? You've talked about educating yourself, but what else can people do for themselves and their families?
If you are a caregiver, I'm speaking directly to you, ask for help. Talk about what you're experiencing, because I guarantee when you start talking about your experience, somebody's going to say, oh, I'm doing the same thing. And then that creates that community and that network for you that could be a supportive opportunity. You don't have to do it alone. You do not have to do it alone. I think that is one of the things that I go back to. Find out more about AGE. Reach out if you need to. Advocate for friends and family. If you know someone that's down the street that is caregiving, ask them if they need help, and don't stop asking. If you have an older adult in your community that you know is socially isolated, knock on the door and have a cup of coffee. Start to recreate that community engagement that was a neighborhood by neighborhood opportunity where you knew folks. You took care of each other. I think that is, the most important thing that we can do as human beings.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you all so much for joining us for our January Aging Answers video series installment. I hope you learned some great things about AGE. We're so excited, as you can tell, about what 2024 is going to do for our community and for our organization. Thank you, Suzanne, for joining us and sharing all of your thoughts and expertise and your story. I know I can speak with Suzanne by saying we want to hear from each of you. If you have questions, if you want to learn more, please reach out. You can learn more at our website, which is again www.ageofcentraltx.org. And again, we encourage you to follow us on social media. Our handle is at Age of Central TX, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. This video series will be posted on our YouTube channel as well as on our social media. So check us out on YouTube as well, where you can find out more about our other Aging Answers video series installments and a lot of our educational opportunities you can find there. So please check us out. Please learn more. Please do as Suzanne so eloquently instructed us, which is to be an advocate for ourselves, our families, and our communities. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you next month for the February Aging Answers video.